Moche, where we focus on good drinks and better conversation. On today's episode, we have special guest Tony Salles from El Tequileño, and we have Gigi Garza from El Tequileño as well. El Tequileño as well. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome to the bar. And first things first, my name is Moche. What can I get you guys a drink?
Margarita.
Va, una margarita. And what better way to make a margarita than with some Tequileño Platinum? Let's get this starting. How's the day?
It's gonna get better.
Let's go. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. We have you for 24 hours, Tony. How does that feel?
Great.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be 24 very intense hours, so that's good.
Yes. So if you guys aren't aware, Tony Salles made a trip out to Texas, and then somehow, I don't know if it was Gigi or Gina or Lourdes or one of the strong women in the company said, come to LA for 24 hours and come to this store and come to this store, come to this place and do this. So I'm very thankful for that. He took a little bit of time to hang out with us and have a few drinks. Now, let's dive into this. You are the master distiller of El Tequileño. How does that feel?
It feels great. I've been there now for 20 years. So it's been a great experience. It's something I like doing. And it's just one of the things I've done. Plus, like I say, it's one of those fun works where you get paid to drink. So that's even better.
I think that's one of the best notions, and probably one of the reasons that I got into this industry. If I can make a cocktail and put away maybe 2 ounces of each cocktail for myself, I can make it through my day, right? Griselda, what brought you into this industry?
What brought me to the industry? I think it was the necessity more than anything.
The necessity. I love that. I love that, and I understand that. And you've been into this industry a while as well.
Correct.
How long?
20 years. I started, the beer and then moving to the spirits.
Okay.
And Tequileño is one of those brands that I see in my house growing up. I grew up in Jalisco, so my grandma used to, in town, she'll be around.
Your grandma used to take a couple shots. Yeah, I get it.
We'll be around. So, yes, I guess I got it from my grandma.
Hey, and that's a beautiful thing, right? Yeah. So we're going to make a margarita. I like to make a Tommy's margarita. I know some people like Concho, triple sec. I'm not a big fan. I just like it to be a little bit more citrusy. We're going to add a little bit of sea salt in there to go ahead and balance that acidity. And un chingo de tequila, porque why not? We got to make sure my man warms up. So, Tony, I did see reading notes because I don't know this man personally. I've met him a handful of times when I'm out there. 20 years. You got into the company. You finally stepped into the business in 2005, and then they made you the master distiller in 2008. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think more about that time. Yeah. But officially, I've been in the company all my life. My grandfather founded the company. So my father used to work in the distillery before I did. So I've known the distillery since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I knew the whole process. It was fun. And finally in 2008, 2007, I got the opportunity to become the master distiller, but I've been working since 2005 with the company.
I love that. So there's a story that, well, it's not a story, but it's a historical fact that your family comes from the original Cuervo family, and that your grandfather was distilling tequila for the family, right, for the company. But then his father-in-law said, "We're not going to buy from you anymore."
Yeah, basically, my grandfather was the grand nephew of José Cuervo.
Okay.
So yeah, and he's Jorge Salles Cuervo. So we're related, blood related, mm-hmm. And from 1941 to 1958, he distilled and he produced tequila for Casa Cuervo. And it wasn't just like his father-in-law, but it was the manager at that time had to be his father-in-law.
Yeah. Manager first and then father-in-law.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then they sent him to tell, well, we don't need his tequila anymore. Get him out of a job. So imagine your father-in-law telling you you're out of a job.
So hold that thought.
Yeah.
Imagine your father-in-law telling you, get your shit together, we don't want you no more. Now, I think the question that I've noticed, because I've seen you have discussions in open topics with folks, why do you think his father-in-law told him that?
Oh, they sent him, that's an order, because Cuervo at that time was self-sufficient by then, and they don't need any more tequila at that point. So that's why they decided not to stop buying. They gave him a year to find something else to do. They told him in the beginning of 1958 that it wouldn't be, that was his last year make tequila for them. So that's why he decided to launch his brand in the beginning of 1959.
Okay. And then he decided that he was going to ponerse las pilas and create what we're drinking today.
Exactly. It was called El Tequileño. Back in those days, it's a tequila joven, not because it was like the joven that we know nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, those category and classes, rules didn't existed.
Okay.
But he called it a tequila joven. Why? To tell people, especially youngsters, that it was a new tequila. It was the tequila of the young people. And that's how he was going to start making a new market.
Yeah. And for folks who don't know, you know, Tequileño created a mixta, and not like traditional mixtas where it was 50 or 51-49. They do a split of 70-30. And also they were the first brand that was accepted and absorbed by La Capilla, which created La Batanga that we love today. I don't drink soda, but I do drink it with tequila. So I would just want to throw that out there because if I'm going to have sugar, I would prefer it have agave inside. And I think that's awesome that your brand has been able to carry that. So yeah, hearing the politics, right? Because everyone thinks that life is sweet. You have a tequila brand, you're in this agave family, you know, everything must have been handed to you. It wasn't handed to you guys.
No. I started working back in 2005, but I worked for about 2 years before in another company. Why? My father said, well, you got to learn something somewhere before you come into the business. And if you're going to screw up, you got to screw up somewhere else. And then once you know how to fix your problems, you can come in and work for us. So that was the way it started. So yeah, it wasn't that like I finished studying. No, I finished, I went to work for somebody else, and I had the opportunity to take a master's degree.
Yeah.
And then I came back and started and making my way through.
That's amazing. Chingon. Well, we're going to do a few cheers amongst this episode, and this will be the first one. Let's go ahead and toast to our grandparents and parents' issues, because we're always the ones that have to solve them. Cheers, Tony. Cheers, Gigi. What's good?
Very good.
Yep. And this is not a paid advertisement, so whatever they're saying is true. I hope.
That's good.
Awesome. So, Gigi, what and how did you get into this business with Tequileño directly? Outside of the fact that it was in your household and your grandma loved to shoot shots.
I was actually very lucky to get into Tequileño. That's a brand I've been follow.
Okay.
You know, like everybody else, we all love tequila. And the more you learn about tequila, the more you become more picky.
Yeah.
And, you know, I actually saw the job opening and I applied. So I was very lucky to be part of the family.
And how long have you been with Tequileño?
Actually, this May, in May, before Cinco de Mayo, will be in 2 years.
So you're going on 2 years, May 4th, May 3rd?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you. Which I'm more Marvel than Star Wars anyways. But that's amazing.
When you're in sales, you have to like what you sell.
Yes.
But when you love what you sell, it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
And also, at the same time, it's like when you like and you love, you don't really have a job. You just have a lifestyle.
Yes.
And I think with Tequileño, you just have a lifestyle.
And I think that's amazing because a lot of people, like for me, I haven't been in this industry too long. I used to work in sales. There's a lot of bartenders that I admire with their craft, with the way that they do things, the education behind it. And I've been thankful enough for people to approach me and say, oh, you've been doing this. I've been doing this for 5 years. And I'm very passionate behind it because in that time frame, I've learned a lot and I've drank a lot. But with that being said, it's a very passionate, family. It's a very passionate industry. People are, my approach has always been sales and hospitality. So when I learn things and, as I craft these cocktails, whether it's a simple margarita or something more elevated, I care. And I think it transcends, right? When you're making the spirit, when you're making these tequilas, when you make un cristalino que no te llama la atención, but you know that it's what the market wanted, but you cared enough to craft it to your likeness and to make sure that there was no additives included. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I'll touch on the topic is cristalinos is a reversed process of aging a reposado and then taking away all the colors and complexity that it already had. And then you take away all the color and then you have to reintroduce it again. I would lose my mind. So for this gentleman.
Tell us, Tony. Tell us the story.
Basically, that's the whole thing when they asked me if I could do Cristalino. I said, why? And they asked me probably 100 times to do a Cristalino. Those 100 times I said no. So it came to a point where it wasn't a question anymore. It was an order to make Cristalino. So I had to find a way in which I agreed the way of doing it, in which we didn't have to add any additives afterwards. Because sometimes when you filter the Cristalino, you take away too much.
Yeah.
So we had to find the perfect filter that will only take the exact amount we were looking for. And that's when we reached, and also we had to see, because we started with 60 days, then we went to 90 days. Finally, we reached 120 days of aging. And that's, and finding also the vats or pipons that we're going to aging it.
Okay.
That gave us a little bit more flavor. That way we could take away some of it. And it still leave us some of a vanilla-ish caramel flavor, which I gotta admit it's good, but it was hard.
The public loves Madagascar. Vanilla.
Yeah, it's hard. And it was good. First thing, like I said, worst thing about is I liked it. Second, some of my friends are in the industry would say I would never drink Cristalino.
Yeah.
Well, but with Tequileño, I'll probably give it a chance because they liked it.
Yeah.
So that's good, but still, it's
a very tedious process for something that doesn't necessarily have to be done.
Yeah.
I feel, right?
Yeah. But nowadays, what's Cristalino? Cristalino, first of all, it has, in Mexico, has a little bit less alcohol, so it feels like
38%?
38, 35.
35, oh, nice.
So it's lighter,
Okay.
easier to drink. Even though here it's at 40, it feels lighter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier for people to drink it. Also, one thing that I've seen, and I'm going back to Mexico again,
Please.
it's people buy it, not because of, sometimes, the flavor, they like it, but now having a bottle of a Cristalino on your table, it gives you power, it gives you status. So it's a way of showing off. And that's why most people would have Cristalino, because sometimes, for me, I think it's cheaper to produce a Cristalino than a Reposado, and still Cristalino is way more expensive.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think that for the last few decades, we've been taught to shoot, right? And we've been taught shot, shoot, celebrate. And we take 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces so fast, it doesn't matter how good it is, it's just too overwhelming. Where I always say, besitos, like, take your time. You just met the girl, like, take your time with it. Don't put your whole tongue in the glass. And the effect here with Cristalinos is being that now, what we like, I like the essence of cooked agave. I like cracked pepper. I like citrus that shows out in the blanco by itself, a good clean blanco. They're like, oh, well, ya tiene vanilla. Like, it has all these sweetened flavors that didn't, if you took time with the platinum or with the mixta, you would enjoy it. But the fact is that we live life so fast that we don't take time to enjoy the little things in life. Yeah, That's awesome. Finish your drinks. We got more to go. This is a speed bar.
He's gonna cut it.
I heard you guys got more things coming up. Now let's talk on the fact of we have you here today and you released 3 barrels.
Yep.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, we recently made a single barrel program.
Mm-hmm.
So we were fortunate enough to release 3 barrels here in California, in Southern California. And those 3 barrels are basically, first one is a Reposado.
Okay.
It's a double wood. Why is it a double wood? It's going to be a Gran Reserva.
Okay.
But we decided to just put aside some of the Reposado that we put in the Gran Reserva. So we aged that. Part of that was aged for 8 months in a vat, American oak wood. And we put those into French oak barrels, ex-Chardonnay.
That's awesome.
So yeah, if you want to cock, I'm not going to say additives, that's the word, but if you want to add flavor and sweetness into your tequila.
Came natural.
That's natural additives. You put it in French oak. French oak's going to give you lots of flavor, kind of like hazelnut.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very sweet. And that's a good part of a French oak. So it was a double wood, Reposado. And we were very lucky to make that one. The flavor is amazing.
And that's one.
Yeah. The second one we use, it's an Añejo. An Añejo that was, I forgot, the Reposado we aged 8 months in vat and then 6 months in barrel, French oak.
Okay.
And then the Añejo, it's aged for 1.5 years at least in American oak wood, ex-bourbon. So that's the more traditional flavor for tequilas. The ex-bourbon barrels, American oak. But in that one, I like a lot because even though it's been over a year in wood,
Yeah.
the flavors and aromas are very typical, like of a platinum or a blanco. You can still feel the citrus aromas.
Still there.
Yeah, the citrus aromas, the agave, and you can see the wooden flavors and lots of agave. But the citrus and the agave flavors are there. That's a good part of the American oak wood barrels that are ex-bourbon.
Yeah. Which the agave is still the core.
Yeah.
We were talking about some topics of this with spirits, with mezcales. I am in a conflicting situation where a lot of mezcaleros, they feel that jabalís, tepestates, and, they shouldn't be used in a cocktail. I contradict that. I think that if the spirit is well enough, even with the barrel selects, if the spirit is delicious, if it's elevated, if it's up here, why not bring that cocktail up there? If usually with most spirits that I've had, the agave is strong and it's present, everything else revolves around it like a solar system, right? So you have your core of agave that tiene all the notes that you like, everything that you enjoy, and then all the other little ingredients that come along with it complement it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see things when I'm building things behind the bar. As we continue, we move on.
Let me tell you about the third.
Yes.
Third bottle.
Yes, please do. Also, before we begin, this is a Tequileño's Reposado, which is
8 months in aging in American oak wood vats. And then we're going to blend it with a 1.5 year Añejo that come from American oak barrels, ex-bourbon, and French oak barrels, ex-Chardonnay.
Yep. And it's one of the few brands that, not only in the distillery, they only push their brand, but they also do some really exciting blending, which I told you before, you need to put it on that you're doing this stuff, because for us geeks that love a tequila and love a blend and love to know that this barrel was used, we want to know everything. So when we're a little inebriated, we're like, oh, look, you have to see this. We like to show out, and we take pride in drinking great spirits.
And you say to baby besitos, and I just shove it.
You know what? I am going to be a parent and I am going to be a hypocrite. So, but also you don't have to give besitos porque you know exactly what you're drinking and you enjoy it. You can take 2 ounces and it still be.
I'm stressed.
This is why we're at the bar today. Just a quick public announcement to Roxanne's in Long Beach. Thank you for sponsoring the bar today. Thank you for sponsoring our episode. And we look forward to working again together. Yep. All right, moving on to the third one.
The third barrel, it's a whole new experience for us, a whole new project.
Yes.
It was an experiment we did. We weren't thinking on selling it, but these guys from High Proof, the great guys, and I think they really like our product, so that's even better.
Okay.
So we show them just as because they were there I think the first time, but they came back for a second and third time. We decided to show them a new product that we had at that point.
Okay.
And it was we bought a couple barrels, French oak barrels that were previously used to make Madeira Portuguese wine.
Portuguese wine.
So we used those. We filled them up with tequila.
Okay.
And at the beginning was, I think, 2 or 3 months. First time they tasted it, they said, I want this barrel. I said, sorry, we're not going to sell it. It's a whole new project we're making and we got to see how it works.
Yeah.
So they come another time and say, we really want it. And they say, come on, give me some more time. And the third time it was 6+ months.
How do you say no in Spanish?
And they kept saying, we really, really want it. So we gave in.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it's a different product, but it's quite a great product. You can find lots of notes of chocolate.
Okay.
But also dry fruits. Dry fruits very strong in there.
Dry fruits.
And I don't smoke, but people that smoke like cigar,
but tobacco.
They say that's the best tequila trick with a
stove. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't smoke stoves either. Every time I do, I feel lightheaded and I want to throw up. So I'm not made for that.
People that do say, this is the one I want to have a cocktail. And it's nice and sweet. So like I said, I'm not that good into cocktails. I don't know how to mix it or blend it with, but I know it's a great product. And it's great to drink it by itself. Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah,
I told her on this episode that if she's not drinking my cocktails, people aren't gonna buy this. So, one thing that I did realize is, Tony, that your arm gets twisted a lot and you say yes.
No, it's product.
And it's a big arm to twist.
It's our new projects, like it's our new babies, but sooner or later we gotta let them go and see what we can do. We've done projects like that one, and some of them became good. Some of them we revised them, but I think most of them we had success with.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And you know, I think it's great that you're selective. We're at a time right now, and I discussed this, you know, with Carlos coming in. I talked about this with Felipe and some of the big honchos like yourself. We're at a time where I feel, and this is just my opinion from the outside in, tequila was platforming in these last couple of decades. Little John and Patron really took over 2010 and everything before that. But now it's a time where everyone is in the arms race to drop the new barrel, drop the new this, drop the new high proof. I don't have a budget to keep up with everything, but I am thankful for the people that I know and the people that I communicate with and the education that I've learned to be selective and say, okay, I have this much put aside, and this is what I really care for, you know. And I like to drink my bottles, so I make sure that when it's on the shelf, it doesn't stay on the shelf. I don't like a dusty bottle. So I think that what your brand is doing right now, what you guys are doing right now is very exciting. And for us, aficionados, consumers, bartenders, sales reps, brand ambassadors, we're proud to move your product in the city. So I will say thank you to that before I get into the next cocktail. I'm not going to ask you what you're going to have this time. I'm going to make something for you if that's okay. And not only that, we also are going to make it with one of your barrel selects today. This was signed by this gentleman right here. It's not my bottle. Great friend went ahead and donated this bottle for our episode, so thank you to him as well. So we had a margarita to start off. We had a shot to celebrate, and now we're going to make a Black Manhattan for you guys. And we are also going to be doing it with one of your barrel selects. We're going to put that to the side as we talk. 66 years. The brand has been going strong.
Yes.
What are you looking at in the future for your brand?
Well, we're looking into growing as much as possible. There's going to be so much we can grow, but I think we still got potentials to keep on growing a little bit. But the main thing is, well, I don't know if you know, even though the brand was founded by my grandfather, my father owned it. In 2017, we decided to get investors into the company. So we got a group of great Canadian investors and American investors into the company. The investors are led by Wayne Hennessy. And since then, we've been able to grow. Believe me, we used to do 200,000 liters, and now we're doing like 1.1 million.
Love that.
And there's still space to grow. But the one thing, and the one and only thing, is that we cannot change the flavor or the profile and the quality of the
consistency can't change.
So that thing. So we could grow. They've asked me how much we could go, if we could go more efficient, if we could go 10 times as bigger. Yes, we can. But I told him there's some stuff that you got to sacrifice, and that might be flavor. So we decided that we can sacrifice many other things, but quality and flavor are the two only things that are non-negotiable in that company.
100%.
So yes, there's space to grow, but so much that maybe we still can grow, I think, 30-40% more, and that's it. Okay, we're looking into growing. We're looking into trying to get more products. So even though we got a core list of products that we have, currently we have 11 different products that we got out into the market.
Okay.
Obviously, some of them are, at least a couple of those are unique products that we only did one edition, and they'll be eventually disappearing.
Repo Rare.
Like Repo Rare.
I got about 2.5 bottles left.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
So those ones are going to be disappearing. They won't come back.
Yeah.
But we're also working on new ones.
Okay.
We're working on new ones.
Is there anything that you can share with us right now?
Right now, well, the single barrel program is one of the biggest ones. And we're working on some French oak vases that we have from a winery here in California that we bought. And those give you a whole different profile versus the American oak vat. So we're doing a reposado, seeing how it comes. And I think it's going to be, the outcome going to be great.
You see, Tony's looking at my cocktail. You forgot about me already. That's awesome.
So that's kind of, we started with a new Reposado. Reposado's been like the thing for us. It's one of the titles that we have the most. We probably have like 5 or 6 Reposados out of 11 right now. And we're looking into one new one. So that's our next product.
Repo.
Yeah.
Repo's big on the market.
Yeah, and it's easier. I think it's easier to handle wine because you can do it in bigger wooden containers.
Yeah.
And it's you need less time because for repos you need 60 days, even though our youngest repo is 90 days.
Yep.
But we got 90, we got 120, we got 8 months, we got 2 years, we got 6 years repo.
And let's talk about the blancos because the blancos are also rested, right?
Yeah, all of our blancos, when we get them out of the distillery, we send them to our bottling plant.
Yeah.
All of them, at least, they're going to be 2 weeks aging.
Yeah, 14 days.
Yeah, 14 days. 2 weeks in aging in oak.
Okay.
American oak. Just to mellow them down.
Yeah.
And add them a little bit of natural way of adding wooden flavor into them.
Whose idea was that?
My grandfather.
Okay. OG, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not a common thread, you know.
No, it's a natural way of like smoothing out your product.
Yeah.
Mellowing down. Also, it's you have in mind that tequila up to probably 2018, we didn't export much. That's why they call the Mexico best kept secret.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So next tequila probably was like 98% of our product was sold in the state of Jalisco, where the climate is quite good. So the climate was good for tequila, but the wood, what does the wood do? It will extract some of the natural oils of the tequila.
Yeah.
That's I think that we decided that it caused us a problem at the beginning, because especially our blancos, when we put them in oak, the wood is going to extract naturally.
Yeah.
The natural oils.
Natural oils. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because if you bring tequila places here like California, Arizona, Texas,
Humidity is different.
no, when it's cold, it's way colder than in Mexico.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like lethally cold like if you were in Alaska.
Like about Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So people go out, put their tequila in the freezer.
Mm-hmm.
When you take it out, there's going to be some natural
Flames.
floaters in the tequila, and people get really concerned about that. So we gotta teach them that tequila could have natural oils. Where you can find those oils, you can find them in places like in craft beer.
Yeah,
craft beer has natural oils, and people don't say a word.
I have natural oils.
So that was the main thing, to extract those oils, but you don't extract them all.
Yeah,
with it in colder weather. So that was the thing. Coming back to quality and flavor. The first time we saw that, we decided to find a solution.
Yeah.
I found 3 ways of getting rid of those oils.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, it's using a chiller or a filter that freezes, well, not freezes, brings down the tequila to about -20, -30 degrees Celsius.
Interesting.
It won't freeze, but it's easier to separate the oils.
Gotcha.
We did it. But they asked me if I could do it. I did it. You cannot.
Another arm twister.
You can know, but if you always say no, people are going to start. They're not going to believe in you anymore. So
No, 100%.
I'm going to do it.
I'm the easiest yes to. I say yes to everything, and then I think about the consequence later. I'm like,
No pedí permiso.
yeah. Don't ask permission. Ask forgiveness.
You gotta. If people don't know the specific reason or just want to see the reason, so I said, do some. We did it. We tasted it. And the flavor changed. It wasn't what we were looking for, so we decided not to use that. Second one was after first distillation.
Okay.
You use another filter, take away those oils. We did it. We did the second distillation. What happened? Flavor was insane.
Gotcha.
Or the third one is use activated charcoal. Same thing.
Filtration.
So we decided that it was going to cost us a little bit more.
Yeah.
But we got to educate people into showing them that even though it doesn't look the best, it's a craft product.
100%.
And it can have
100%
purities, if you want to call it that way.
Yep.
But it has more characteristics, more
complexity.
Than
more
normal products.
100%.
Like I said, there's nothing wrong if you use those filters.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the profile you're looking for, not for us. And so it took us a bit more time. We had to put labels into our bottles and teaching people
Summarize
what those natural oils. So yeah, the initial way of doing it was with wood, but when you start going to colder weathers, it's impossible.
Gotcha.
So that's a way of educating people. It costs us a lot. Let's do some experiments with those and teach people how to identify them.
Yep.
And that's the main way. If I may.
Yes, please.
You grab this. If you
Go ahead and grab your bottle.
Yeah, a bottle of platinum or blanco.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of tequila in your hands and use it as a hand lotion.
This is what I do every morning.
Yeah. First thing you're going to feel, your hands are going to be nice and smooth. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And then, 2, if you smell your hands, they're going to smell like, cooked agaves. They don't smell like alcohol.
Just like it.
Those are the natural oil.
Like when the autoclaves are open.
Yeah, and if you notice on the line, you're gonna see the little floaters there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
So what do we have here?
I have a Black Manhattan here. We did a little bit of a riff. It has a Verna Amaro within. We have the single barrel as well. And we did aromatic bitters, orange bitters, and chocolate bitters just to offset it a little bit. Just to change it, and especially because of the complexity that barrel carries. Yeah, you know, black is beautiful. And yeah, it should have a bang. Tony's an easy bet, so I'm not worried about him. Gigi, what do you think?
No, I like it.
Está bueno? Perfecto. Gigi, you are Tony's tour guide and navigator and concierge and left hand and right hand today. How are you feeling?
I'm super excited. I'm very happy that he's here because in 2 years,
I'm happy he's
he
here.
hasn't been here for 2 years. So
Yeah.
it was very.
I heard that he only came here for In-N-Out, though.
I haven't even taken to In-N-Out yet. Don't remind him.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
take him to In-N-Out.
So actually, less than 2 weeks ago, I find out that I was gonna be able to have him.
Yeah.
And he was gonna be here in LA
Mhm.
for less than 24 hours. So I said, what can I do in 24 hours and he can make the biggest impact? So we had the barrel release for high proof. And I said, okay, we can do the bottle signing at high proof. And then from there, you know, maybe the distance are not too bad.
Yeah.
But the traffic. So I decide to bring him into Roxanne's to the exhibition room.
Yes.
And bring everybody together. So I invite different liquor store owners or buyers.
Who else do we have here?
Clubs,
What do we have today? LA Tequila Club.
IE Agave Club.
IE Agave
El
Club.
Amigos Agave.
Amigos Agave.
So I just very happy because thanks to Tony, I'm bringing all these people together so they can all get along. Together.
Everybody took a comp day and a sick day off for you, my man.
Yes.
Like, yeah. And obviously, I'm behind the bar, so I'm working. If
Yeah,
I'm behind the
so-
bar, I'm okay.
So that was very exciting. I always, you know, it's like, okay, if he comes back, he needs to be here a week.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So we can do dinners and I'm not.
Yeah, taking the Six Flags and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
La Montaña Mágica.
Can take him.
Well,
But yeah, no, I think that the location is great.
oh, it's amazing.
You know,
It's
I don't
amazing.
know, for those people that never been here, it's kind of interesting, very unique.
Yeah, then they have a great program. They have a great bartender with John.
Mhm.
And obviously, these are your stomping grounds, so we're very thankful to be here with you. And a big thank you to you, obviously, because without
Of
you,
course, you. Moche, I was like, Moche, he's coming. What we do?
you know, without you, we don't have this gentleman with us today in our presence, and I think that we're very grateful. One topic I do want to talk about, the size of those autoclaves. There's a backstory to those autoclaves. And there's also a backstory to your family working in railroad and American history. Can you dive a little bit on that topic?
So, like I said, first, my grandfather in Mexico, you know, we got 2 last names, the father's last name and the mother's last name. So my father was Salles Cuervo. Cuervo from his mother, Salles from his father. His father was John Reuben Salles.
Okay.
He was from Belton, Texas.
Mhm.
So he was an American. And he was a train engineer. So he was one of the guys that brought railroads into Mexico.
Yeah.
So he worked first in the eastern part of Veracruz. And then he went back to Tequila. And in Tequila, he brought also railroads. Then things happened, and he decided to go back to the United States.
Yeah.
And when he went back, my grandfather told me he left behind some train cards. So, like I say, we do the cooking in autoclaves. You see it at a crafty way. Probably not the most craft way there is, because the most crafty is in a clay oven.
Yep.
But we use autoclaves. First of all, that's the type of cooking that gives the flavor to our product. And second of all, those autoclaves, like I'd say, or my grandpa used to say, they have like next in engineering.
Yep.
Why? Because they used to be train kites, first of all. So he built it, and he got somebody to cut up one of the ends and put a door.
Yeah.
So then,
and that's how you refurnish.
Yeah. He started at the beginning, I assume it wasn't stainless steel, but then eventually he put stainless steel inside.
Yeah.
So it will last longer.
Yeah. It'll have a longer shelf life.
And when you have an autoclave, there's supposed to be 1 or 2 intakes, but we call it a flute, and there's like a hole, like a staircase on the bottom.
Yeah.
That allows the steam to go out evenly, and then it goes up, and there's another one in the top
on the top
that will let the agave cook as even as possible.
It'll distribute
It's like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
But this one, they only have 2 holes, one on the back and one in the front.
Yeah.
The intake of the steam is in the back, so obviously the one that gets the most steam is the back than the front. Therefore,
when the back gets more steam.
Yeah. So the back is more cooked than the front, and then the middle is less cooked. You're going to see it that way. That's one.
Okay.
2, that one he came to way of thinking. He decided when you cook, some people decide to cook, and when the agave is cooking, it exfoliates what we call honey or juices.
Yes.
And people will take out those juices and bring it out and cook it outside. But my grandfather decided to leave it there. So we got back more cooked than the front in the middle, but then the juices are left inside all the way through.
Yeah.
So the bottom part is more cooked than the top part. So it's a really imperfect way of cooking, but it's that imperfection that they call it.
It's something that makes sense for you guys.
Yeah. So it's a whole different way of doing it, and that's
And those autoclaves are the same autoclaves.
They've been there for at least, I'm gonna say, 40 years, 50 years. I know because about 30 years ago, one of them popped open. and went from the wall of the distillery into the wall next door.
From the pressure.
Yep.
And it's a big.
Yeah, it's at least like 8 feet tall, 9 feet tall.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah.
Everything looks bigger next to me.
Yeah, but it's probably 9 feet tall.
Okay.
And
This is went flying out.
Yeah, so it went to pass through two walls. It works at 1.2 kilos of pressure. So it doesn't seem much, but he's
pushed through like a superhero. Yeah.
So we went, like I said, fortunately, nobody was injured at the time, but I don't know if the guy that was in charge probably got a diabetic coma.
Yeah, more than less. I'm sure. Hopefully, you gave him a barrel select.
Yeah. Back in those days, we didn't have like emergency valves and everything. Now we do, just to make sure that doesn't happen. But that's that way it was. So yeah, we've been using those. And if you see, it's totally different from other autoclaves. And like I said, I've seen some autoclaves from other distilleries. I saw one that some of our friends put in, and I wanted to marry that autoclave because it was beautiful. It worked electronically, on the touch of a button.
Yeah.
It opened
Wi-Fi and everything. But I think you know. Yeah, he's like snooze.
Yeah, exactly. And all these ones are done manually, and it's those things that give a hate to a product.
I see people all the time, like cooks, chefs, home enthusiasts, right? You see now like smokers, barbecue pits, and you can do it at a touch of a button. You can smoke the brisket, go to sleep. But then I also see some guys that they're like, you know what? I've been using the same iron cask for 20 years, and it works, and it comes out medium rare, and it has a char, and obviously, you know, you're structured and your system has been set in stone for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes back to simple saying, a simple thought. You know, Fanny Camarena said this when we were discussing the topic of adjustments and agave and the way things are being done now. If it's not broken, why fix it?
Exactly.
You know? I'm all about innovation. I love creativity. I love, you know, leveling up, taking it to another nivel. But also, I also love the respect to tradition and the way certain things are done. I'm not going to go to my grandma and tell her, ¿sabes qué, mamá? You know, and I'm from Peru. I'm not going to go and be like, ese ají de gallina, you got to try this. This is different. I wouldn't, because hers is the best. And I wouldn't change anything. So the way you guys are doing things, it's amazing. It's delicious. It's captivating. I can drink it. I love to introduce the brand over the bar. the platinum, the mixta, everything is friendly, approachable. And I think, you know, when I'm talking about this brand to someone that already knows, they are probably already know Tequileño. When I'm introducing this to someone that's, let's say they drink blah, 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 and this is what they love, and that's what, because it has vanilla and it has all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, take your time with this. And they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. So typically when I introduce a brand, I put the bottle up front. And then once I see them pull out their phone and they take a picture of it and they say where they can find it, then we won. You know, we won as a brand. I won as a bartender because I get to introduce you something that I drink. This is what, if you ask me when I'm on that side, this is what I would order, you know. And I think that's great. And thank you for the story and the history behind that, because for your ancestors to go from building railroads to bringing railroads to Mexico to bringing us one of the best tequilas in the market, I think it's something cool to talk about. So we're going to start shutting down soon, and we're going to go ahead and pour one of your barrel selects. Gigi, don't shoot this. We have good cop, bad cop. Lethal weapon. Now, I did have one question that I'm going to throw your way. The high proof that you guys released, do you also rest out? Is it rested for 14 days as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, all of the blancos, you gotta give them that touch, and it's important.
Okay.
So yeah, all of them are at least rested or aged for 14 days.
That's awesome. And that's different, man. And what we have here is the Barrel Select and Madeira barrels.
Madeira barrels.
Madeiras. Well, that makes the barrels that were aged to make Portuguese wine, correct? Awesome. And this, remind me once more before we toast to this, was rested how long in the barrels?
6 months.
6 months in the barrels. And look at this color. I don't know if you'll capture this on the screen, but the color is like a rose.
Beautiful.
Burgundy.
It's very nice.
It's
very
just
unique.
Yeah. Sometimes I may get a little short on my words, but I will say the color of this is just beautiful. I want to thank you both for coming out today. Thank you for having some drinks. Thank you for shooting some shots with me.
Thank you.
And I hope you enjoy your 24 hours out here, Tony.
I will.
I know we have more on the way for you, and I'm excited to be a part of it. Gigi, Señorita Griselda. Actually, we'll give a shout out to every strong woman in this industry for Tequileño, Gina, Lourdes. You have a very strong environment of powerful women, and I grew up in a very strong environment of powerful women because I have nothing but big sisters. So for that, we will toast to the women in our families and the women in our industry, and the cheers to you both. Cheers.
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 Thank you for hanging out with us today, and until the next episode. Cheers.